Hey everybody, Rex Spare Leak Project. How the heck are you? Beautiful day today out here in southern Colorado. It looks pretty nice wherever Indy's at also. Where are you at?
I am in Pensacola, Florida.
Ooh,
Yes.
Cola,
So
Florida. Nice.
pretty warm.
Yeah, it's kind of like a requirement to have a swimming pool out there, I'm sure.
Not everybody does, so I feel extremely blessed. But yes, it is very nice to be able to jump in the pool and cool off, especially when we start getting in these really hot summer months where you just cannot take it.
I just watched a few weeks ago a show called or a film called Leave the World Behind. And in the film, if you watch it, you'll like your swimming pool even more because you'll realize there might be a time when they won't have water that comes out of the faucet for you. So you'll be like, oh, I've just got 50,000 gallons of chlorinated water in the back. Let's go get some. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Um,
You know, that's definitely crossed my mind. If it all hits the fan, that I have some water in the bag. And the good thing is that it's a salt pool, so we don't really have any chlorine, which is nice because I absolutely love swimming in it. It feels like really silky on your skin,
nice.
and like it's nourishing and
Yeah.
adding some moisture back to your skin when you swim in it. And it's also very activating for ascension as
Really?
well. So I'll get downloads in the pool. Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay. I was going to say ascension, but now, yeah, I was like, I was imagining something else. Like you're swimming and all of a sudden you're a light body and you're, oh, my chakras got activated. What you going to do? Yeah, well, close enough. Downloads are good. Downloads are good. So, Andy, what the heck is going on? I got an email from you the other day that was awesome, by the way. Thank you. It's been too long. I'm glad we're doing this podcast. You've been doing energy work all over the world. So, what are you focusing on right now?
Well, yeah, it feels really great to catch up, and thanks for bringing me on. I have been really moving a lot more extensively into my planetary global grid reader hat that I like to wear, and I have been doing a lot of energy work over the world. Recently, more remote missions. And that means that we have been forming groups to go in and just do a lot of spiritual healing on the land. I've kind of created a new term for it. I call it advanced avatar land shamanism because I feel like we're holding all of the new earth super technology for earth healing and rescue missions and sacred assignments that we go on, because sometimes we get these personal downloads that guides us to a stargate or guides us to an area or guides us to a location in which we're called to work on, because there's something that we have to maybe untie in the Akashic records for collective humanity. But I think recently we've been getting almost like informers that have been coming forward, people who live in very degraded areas of the grids, and just tormented, torturous places to live, honestly. And people come forward because they are a little bit fearful, I think, and but they see what we're doing, and they want to have a voice, and they want their land to be worked on, essentially. So the most recent that we had come forward was for North Korea, was a gal living within the area, close. I'm not going to say where she's living, but she gave us a lot of insider information as to what things are like there. And so we hosted a big remote grid worker ceremonial mission to try to correct the things that are going on over there.
So, tell
So
us about this. I want to hear about this person that reached out to you. How did that happen?
it's been happening. It's been starting to happen more and more. Um, Recently I had another girl reach out that's residing in Dubai. And so we're kind of planning to do another remote mission on Dubai because we've been seeing psychically a lot of things going on there. But yeah, they just, reach out via email or whatever. And due to their circumstances, I don't think they have, like the confidence really necessarily, or like, I guess the public outreach, or just like the right connections to put together the grid work basically. But yeah, just come forward and be like, look, I don't really want to be like seen. I don't want my voice to be heard. E- even to the point that if I was going to interview them, they would want their face like blurred out or their voice changed, essentially, because there's so much fear around bringing forward grid work insider information. I noticed grid work in itself is something that people can get nervous about. I mean, I noticed it when I really noticed worker remote mission to go to Washington, D.C. A lot of people were scared to come and attend because we're doing grid work in the Capitol. And it's, it's the political capital of the world. I think people like it brings up some sort of fear against the Willy Wonka, against the government, against the super spyware, against, are there like things, and this is just going there just to heal, just like running meditations, running clearings, running prayers. We are targeting specific locations that we know hold more density and hold more entities. And, when we were in Washington, D.C., we went to the Treasury building, and we really came in contact with the spirit and the entity of Baphomet. We actually seen Baphomet running around the like columns. It's kind of like built into the architecture and the symbolism. It's absolutely crazy.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is why it brings up fears, because I mean, I think people are like, okay, like, we're coming into work spiritually with, with clearing entities on a collective level and on a level of the land. So you do have to be a seasoned grid worker for this. You do have to have collapse down fear programs and, all of the things that could hold you back from doing this type of work. You have to be kind of in your spiritual mastery to do this kind of work.
I could see how people would be concerned going to DC also because of what happened with the Capitol building and the way that that is pushed in the media, that will have an effect on the subconscious as well. And people that have no malice intent whatsoever might think, hey, if I go out there just even to do prayer, will that create some type of will they think that I'm a protester, and will they target me, and will they film me? And then when I apply for a job years later, will they say, well, what about that time you went to the, DC and you, so I can just see how there's like how people could be concerned not only about the spiritual aspect, but the physical and how it could affect them here. So I get that, but I want to hear more about like what it was like out there. So when you're out there, when you're out in DC, tell us
Mhm.
about, give us an example. You're doing energy work. You're clearing energies, you say, and joining forces to create like a better world. As cliche as that sounds, it's so important. Like, tell us about it.
Well, I mean, DC is infused with Freemasonic and satanic symbolism, literally built into the streets and the land and the architecture of the buildings. I think we might have even done a show on it one time where we pointed out some things like there's an owl and there's particular ley lines that are running that I think form the like Freemasonic compass and things like this. Also, there's like an upside down pentagram that is running as well between certain points. I think Dew Point Avenue, Washington Avenue, it creates a inverted pentagram. So while we were there, we kind of targeted those areas architecturally for where we were going to run our collapses, our extractions, our rescue missions, our entity removals, and also the prayer and the healing. So, yeah, I mean, we are taking it a little bit to like the next level for sure, but we did portal collapses on the inverted pentagram. That one we started in front of the White House. So yeah, we don't want to call a lot of attention to ourselves, most definitely. So, I mean, we do try to be as discreet as possible, but um, we just basically, luckily the day we did it, it was raining. There wasn't really a lot of people there. We do feel like we were kind of sighted. There was a moment out in front of the White House that like officials came out and kind of like moved everybody out, and we actually had to come back later to finish the clearing at that location. And so we were like, okay, well, they see some, but I mean, there's eyes everywhere. There's eyes in the sky, there's eyes in the trees. There's what I kind of noticed is the White House almost looked like an overlay, like it was an artificial hologram of the White House. Like it wasn't even really the White House itself, and that it was like superimposed as kind of like an image to think things are going on there, but really it's actually a hologram. I'm just trying to think with the White House, there's so much more. We noticed that the courtyard itself looked like an upside down queen bee. And we noticed that there was reversal and hijacked energy that seemed to be siphoning off of the feminine energy there. And also superimposing like a negative artificial overlay of AI that was kind of hijacked into the honeycomb structures of that queen's energy. And masks itself in a way that you can't see it. Another way that they can run the inversions, and also the artificial, I think White House hologram is superimposing the artificial into the organic structures. I think DC itself has a very it's a very activated land. Like it's a high energy vortex area, even though we might not recognize it so much because there's not a lot of organic land resources there. But the reason why is because they've kind of re-terraformed it, and man-made hijacked it, superimposed and kind of rerouted water systems, and have changed and altered the structures of the energy mechanics going really deep into the ground. I think even the sewer systems are kind of superimposed with the artificial negative AI and hijacked by like spyware, even in the tunnel systems and underground systems of DC. So it's very hijacked, but not in a way that you think it would. I think the spirits and the entities of Baphomet and Malak and the negative satanic spirits are running there, but it's more of an AI ground zero location in which they're trying to implement cyborg and just the no longer need for really like human involvement in reality. And that's kind of like where they're trying to make a lot of those major, you know, tech revolutionary shifts to kind of happen and begin. So it feels very desolate. It's a very it's kind of like a strange, almost like a silence that exists there, where less need for human interaction and engagement and more AI shifts coming in. So yeah.
What when you say that the White House almost looks like it's a hologram, do you do you really think it's like a hologram? Like if you were to go up to it and put your hand, it would just go right through it, or like tell us
Well,
about it.
potentially, I mean, because we can't get close to it. I mean, it's definitely gated. So I mean, what I mean by that is like it looked very staged. The Secret Service looked staged. The location of how they were parked looked staged, and the driveways. The things that were going on there looked artificial and staged. It looked like it was an act, it was a show. That something, like what was really supposed to be going on there actually wasn't. And nobody that was supposed to supposedly be there actually wasn't. It looked like it was kind of just for to show that the White House is there. And but yeah, I don't think it's what we think it is. Something else. Yeah.
More like a public icon. Hey, look, it's the White House. Let's take some pictures. It's going to be amazing. But in reality, what most people think of the White House versus what's really going on there, maybe they've moved their operations elsewhere, it sounds like.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That was the vibe, but then I still got the artificial hologram as well, like something was being projected too. So that was
What if, what, well, real quick, Andy, sorry to interrupt, but what if they are projecting some type of hologram, but you don't see it with your physical eyes because it's just right outside of that light spectrum? So maybe they do it at certain places just to kind of set off the brain a little bit. I don't know, just thinking out loud here.
there's definitely next generation AI level tech spyware, and it's all running there. It's all ground zero there. I mean, it's cashless, so there's no cash. I mean, like
Really? All the
where you
places you go there, no cash?
yeah, you can't pay cash. Uh,
Really? Like you can't even go to a gas station and give them.
not really. Yeah, they'll straight up tell you. They'll just tell you we don't do cash.
Wow.
Um, I noticed also even like their hotels, because we went into a couple different ones. There's no like more concierges. There's no like people working things. Like everything is like an AI check-in and everything is computer generated and automated. It's kind of like that's kind of the basis and foundation of everything. So less need for humans interaction. I also noticed a lot of Orion mechanical systems that were running there. Just like looking at things that they were building, it looked like things were in the architectural shape of Orion galactic machinery and things like this. So it's hugely dominated, I think, by the AI Orion negative ETs. And I think insectoid races and races that are probably geared with the Pegasus and the Nexus systems as well. Um, the Pentagon, oh my gosh, the energy at the Pentagon is something really like dark and nefarious. Like the whole grounds area is just, you can't even
You guys
explain
went
it,
out
but
there too?
oh, we were all over the place. Oh yeah, we'll get some, we do grid work, we get around. Yeah, because we're trying to really data collect, what's going on here on an energetic and spiritual level. That felt like that may have been the command center for the frequency fences. Where frequency fences were basically being emitted, I think is from the Pentagon.
What are the
And
what are the frequency fences doing?
frequency fences are like kind of like the artificial overlays. They can create them that will control your mind. They usually put them kind of in anywhere between like the fourth density to the sixth density fields, and they run like brain scramblers, high levels of electromagnetic frequency. Sometimes they run like static and white noise. So people wonder why, like, oh, I get a headache here, or oh, I can't think all the time, and I feel very like disoriented and I can't focus. I mean, if you live there, that's going to be your daily, because the frequency fences are just so amplified in areas that are high tech, revolutionary, next gen cities. Like that's basically, so it's basically to build down the spirit consciousness and the organic consciousness of the land. And so that way it basically dies. It dies inside the frequency fences. So there's not a lot of organic spirit energy that can come through. And it's how they just suppress the people, suppress the spirit and the mental capacities within the area, and keep everybody limited in fear and disruption. Basically it just disrupts and disorients your field. This is happening all over the world in different areas, and some of them are global frequency fences. And so there's like specific different, they're called Atlantean pylon implant networks. The term was kind of phrased through the teachings of Ashana Dean, but um, it's just one perspective of it. But basically, there's different types of overlays according to different lineages and different agendas of them trying to run the frequency fences globally. The Aquilin system, I call it the Aquilin system, but it's basically one of the main ones that runs through the dark military, that they implement more of like a patriarchal domination and control structure. And that's kind of there's many agendas for that one to come forward, but it's definitely future. uh it has a lot to do with the Georgia Guidestones and the coming of, if things all go down in a great cataclysm and a collapse, like how to rebuild society. So they implement this Aquilin frequency fence that if this happens, basically things are rebuilt underneath their league once again. So they have specific station points that the frequency fences link into to implement those agendas at a more successful rate, I guess. But yeah, so just a lot of control. It's just really about control and domination and keeping things within a particular level of mind control and propaganda to control the collective.
Now, tell us more about the theory of insectoids and negative Orion ETs.
Okay. Yeah,
How do
let's
you
talk
how do
about
you
that.
come up? Because that's pretty, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't be surprised And at the same time, like, how do you come up with that conclusion? And I want to add a couple things too. And this is just because we're having a conversation here and I think you're cool. And I think that a lot of times people will look at certain symbols and they'll immediately, their mind will link it to something that's satanic or dark or evil or negative. And one of the things quite fascinating about the more I study symbology, yes, there are factions that have taken over, or not necessarily taken over, but they've kind of usurped those symbols and they use them for negative and nefarious purposes. Yet, if you look at the original symbols and the original purpose, it isn't negative or positive. It's like, what do you choose to do with it? But I would say that the upside down pentagram is a symbol of the divine feminine. If you take, obviously the different V versus A, man, woman. So you've got like if and Freemasonry, I'm not a Freemason, but I've studied enough of secret societies and mystery schools to know that there is the dark and the white. There is the chessboard, right? So there are Freemasons that choose to play the white pieces, and there's those that choose to play the black pieces. And sometimes they'll pick and choose. But there are a lot of like when I had a completely different experience when I was in DC. I went out there just to visit though, right? I was working in a place called Columbia, which was outside of DC. Well, I was working out there for about a month and I didn't like it, but the energy to me, it just seemed like everybody wanted to be, it was like the Joneses keeping up with the Wilsons or the Smiths. Everybody wanted to be the best. Almost every woman that I saw out there had a dress on and like really well presented, well taken care of. Like I got a good vibe out there, which is and I talked to other people out there and they're like, no, dude, the devil's out there. And I'm like, shit, does that mean what does that say about me? It just seemed like a really cool environment, right? Like a really cool energy, but I wouldn't want to live there. Like it took 45 minutes just to get lunch during like no way. There's way too many people. I love the mountains. I love nature. But do you ever wonder if some of these symbols like the upside down pentagram as an example is not necessarily satanic or evil, but maybe people took over that symbol and they feed off of it, and then they push that into the into the
Yeah.
ether. They make everybody else think, oh yes, Satan, the devil, upside down pentagram. Ah, ah.
Well, that's absolutely correct. I mean, that's absolutely what it is. And that's absolutely what has happened is everything was once, good and light, and it's been inverted and it's been hijacked, siphoned, and it has been used for purposes of satanic ritual abuse and bloodletting and, things that have made that energetic symbolism not good. And so that's kind of what we're targeting, is to clear what's stuck within what's been inverted. I mean, DC itself is not a bad place. The land is not bad, but it's been kind of, and I guess it's how you perceive AI, because I think there's positive AI and negative AI. There are positive Orions and negative Orions. The way I kind of see it is there are intruder races and lines and lineages and ETs that have been here hybridizing with humankind since the beginning of our origins. Negative intruder race lines, which means that they are more in like service to self. They're here for service to resources of the earth. They're here to mine the resources from the earth. Humans are just kind of something that's maybe either in the way, used for experimentation, used for a particular agenda, which is to bring their race line here. So they will hybridize and force breed with our genetic makeup and experiment with it. And they've been doing this back, like this is, this goes back to, I think, the beginning of human origins with negative intruder ET lines. I mean, that's how we could perceive it because they're sitting on the side of duality, and then you have guardian ETs and guardian nations and guardian races, in which have come to basically work within the development of the human soul, body, and spirit of the human beings, which are also hybridized with our genetic gene code and makeup. So you could be, Rex, you could be hybridized with some lines and lineages that sit on both sides of the fence. And that's why you maybe have perspective into both realms, you know, of what those two varying agendas are, depending on which ET races you could be connected to. But I mean,
We don't talk about that side of the family.
yeah, the reptilian side of the family. A
Well,
lot,
you know.
a lot of us have, you know, descended through hybridizing. So we have hybridization trauma with these race lines and conflicting elements within our own bloodline. Um, yeah, causing a lot of internal warfare.
You
Yeah.
know, I want to add to that. So through the years, I've become much more skeptical about ETs. However, I think it's a healthy skepticism, right? Like I want to believe, I just have a lot more questions, and I don't pick and choose what somebody says and not listen to the parts that make me go to say, oh yeah, aliens are real, man. Like I've had my own personal experiences, but were they aliens? I don't know. Like you brought up the insectoid beings, and a lot of people talk about these insectoids and how negative they are, and how these mantis beings are master geneticists. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so a mantis being a master geneticist, a mantis being is going to have like claws, not going to have 5 fingers, right? Like, so how is a mantis going to be a master geneticist unless it has the physical abilities also? And so I wonder.
I think it's higher forms of tampering. Like it's more higher dimensional and interdimensional and in the ways that I mean, because I know the Greys, for example, have the ability to remote into the unconscious parts of your field and can abduct you. And I mean, they have high forms of technology. They can insert memory sheaths into your cellular memory so you don't even remember. I mean, have you seen the movie The Fourth Kind, where they kind of insert the images of that
No,
owl?
no, I didn't see that, but I did see I saw parts of it. Yes, but not the whole
Yeah.
thing. That was in Alaska, where
Mhm.
and according to the film, like these ancient, and they even speak like ancient Sumerian or something when they go into those hypnotic states, which I found quite interesting. And then if they got hypnotized and they got hypnotized too deep and they started to come out of it, they could get physically like hurt really bad. So that was in the film, and I found that interesting. Like, what if they have these triggers that they can put in you that if you do start to remember, or if you go into a hypnotic state, they have a preparation already in you to where it would activate, so something would happen to you to where you wouldn't be able to explain exactly what happened, or that would be their goal. I don't know, it's fascinating. But one of the things you brought up,
Yeah,
so one of
sheath and also
yeah.
seals. They can seal off your memory. They can place seals, and they like to place them in your central nervous system. Um, I mean, they'll place seals in the pineal. They put them in the lymphatic systems, all places where you would have more generation and release, and where you would have drainage as well to memories, because every organ in the body is like holding memory, and it's holding psychic and telepathic abilities. And so yeah, they'll block the areas in the body where memory would transmit, predominantly over the heart. That a lot of times they'll mine out the chest. Whenever I've psychically seen somebody in a state of abduction, they're kind of laying on like an actual bed with the chest open, and so they can, you know, go in and out of the chest and place the seals, place tracker tags, locator tags, clip you, clamp you, you know. Sometimes they leave actual things inside of you. Like I've seen people have like nuts and bolts and screws and actual like things from their abduction experiences left in the body. So yeah,
Not
and then
physical nuts and bolts.
like holographic ones. Sorry, that I have a little puppy over here. He's
Oh, that's okay. Well, when you said they left physical nuts and bolts in their body, what do you, I mean, it wasn't like a physical nut and bolt, was it? You just mean like physical implants?
like yeah, well, it looks like a holographic implant, or like an energetic or an emotional form of a blockage. Yeah, it's all holographic. It's all interdimensional um forms of energy, symbolism. You know, it's kind of how you see it ethically. Um But yeah, they can hijack you in parallel timelines, and that's what the Greys like to do. They'll actually hijack essence of your spirit or soul body or consciousness in a parallel timeline and in a part of your field that's outside of your immediate consciousness awareness, so they can actually maintain that abduction for several years within your field, until you kind of wake up to realize or have those memories or have those seals or cellular memory blockages removed, to wake up to remember to call back your soul parts and do kind of a soul rescue and call back what's maybe been abducted or taken, because you can't do that. I think there is this something within your consciousness. You can reclaim sovereignty and you can't immediately like, get it back. It's not like because I think they do still have laws that they have to bind to as well, in terms of like free will to some degree. Not all of the intruder races abide to these things, but some races do. Like I think some of the Greys and the Zetas may abide to some of these free will laws of like sovereignty, and if you say no type of thing, that they won't, continue to mess with you, basically. But yeah, there's a whole science behind abduction technology. I mean, it's really advanced stuff, and I think that's why it's so far out of the scope of what like humans can really perceive it to be, and why we have so many SSPs and why we have so many experiencers that kind of come forward to tell their story. But a lot of the real nasty ones, like the Borgias and the Zeta Draco reptilian hybrids, I don't think they really care too much for humans' free will. They definitely see humans as a petri dish for some of the stuff that they're doing.
You know, I was talking to my friend Eric the other day. We're doing a screenplay right now, and it's going to be a series probably on Netflix. And we were discussing this book that came out called Alien Interview. And my friend Eric interviewed the person that put this book together many times. Like they had talked many times. And this is in regards to the Roswell event that took place. And through the years, I've become also very skeptical about the Roswell incident. And, were they really ETs, or was it just our government, secret technologies, etc.? But Eric says no, they were absolutely grays and, not humans. And whether or not they're from, they claim to be from Zeta Reticuli. I don't know if I believe them or not, but, they could say they're from anywhere. Now we know, right? Like, would you really tell if you got captured on another planet? Would you really tell the people that captured you what planet you were from? I sure as hell wouldn't. Oh yeah, Earth, right over there. Here, let me give you the coordinates. Yeah, go take it over. No, I wouldn't. But anyway, so he talked about these technologies that actually. So here's the story. Here's the alleged reason that these Greys came here in the first place, because they were attempting to find other beings that were humans but were grays, like they were trapped on Earth. And allegedly there was these technologies long ago that were created that trap people's souls on this planet. So like if you're born on this planet, you're going to continue to be born on this planet. And
Mhm.
I mean, and then he also talked a lot about how he felt that there was some connection with Gene Roddenberry and his theories and mindset on Star Trek versus what's, these beings that are out there in real life that are extraterrestrials. So very similar. Like you've got these galactic councils, beings from different planets that get together and they say, okay, well, if you're going to visit these other planets, don't mess with their evolution, etc. So when he brought up those technologies, I mean, I'm really skeptical about it, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, imagine your soul itself has some type of magnetic properties or some type of energetic properties, and how valuable that would be. And if you are a light being that has extreme powers that once they're fully activated, you are a super being. Literally, imagine 7 billion super beings getting out into the universe. Maybe some of us would have good intentions and others not so much. And what kind of havoc would that cause on the universe? They're like, well, let's put them there on Earth. And then when they reincarnate, they'll go, then when they physically die and shed their meat muscles, then they're going to go back and do it again and again and again. Be a good way to keep people in purgatory or beings. super beings in purgatory, hypothetically.
I mean, that's why the reversal site clearing that we do is so important. Because I mean, a lot of those reversal sites are hijacked with technology that instigates reincarnation and harvesting traps, for people to reincarnate. Because listen, if you don't have the ability to ascend and get high spiritual information, wisdom, technology, and a soul can't go to the next level in this life, and it's tied etherically and through your ancestral and generational DNA modification and manipulation to these harvesting stations, like, yeah, you're coming back as a food source for the negative ETs again. So really, I think the Zetas are kind of at the forefront of a lot of that stuff. The Zetas history, I mean, if I think I've studied a little bit of their galactic history, but they go all the way back to like the original Tara. Their history goes all the way back to so Earth has gone through different phases. There was a Tara, there was a Tiamat, and now she's like Gaia, and she's going through her evolutionary cycles. While these Zetas go back to Taras, and they apparently were modifying the DNA and the original angelic human genome since Tara. And I think they infused it with a race line called the Zionites. The Zionites were a part of the genetic gene code, which was another race line. So they're like master creators. Like they've had access to these worldly systems, I think, a lot longer than our consciousness can recollect anything, that's for sure, because how we've been programmed, we got the amnesia thing going on.
Real quick. Yeah, you're right. Many of us do. And then when we start to wake up, it's like, whoa, buckle up, Buttercup. So if you're a gray and you have all these capabilities and you're a master geneticist, hell, wouldn't you make yourself like 7.5? Like if you're, okay, as a gal, wouldn't you make yourself like beautiful, just as beautiful as you could be and perfect as possible? Same if you're a dude, you're gonna be buff, you're gonna be 7 foot tall, you're gonna have massive muscles, and you're gonna walk around like freaking Tarzan, or you're gonna walk around like a little gray going, unless that's their purpose. Like their purpose is to live for long periods of time in an area that doesn't have gravity or something like that. I don't know. I, I'm thinking
What
rationally here, aren't
the
I? Is that
purpose
rational to think that
the
way?
purpose to live for a long period of time. These Zionites, I think, are honestly, this galactic DNA of Zionites are connected to Zionists as well. So you think about the controllers on the planet and who have had the elitist control, dark monetary system, whatever. They are, I think, tied to some of these race lines that have been tampered and hybridized since the original humans, going back through all of this. So yeah, I think they have designed it so that they keep specific race lines and certain genetics at the top of that tier, off the top of the food chain. Um, and yeah, so there's a lot of validity to that for sure. In Hollywood as well. I mean, a lot of this is kind of the elitist classes of the negative ETs, and who, I mean, I think the Kardashians, I mean, I think they're like a whole gray lineage and line, like, and they have designed that to be the way it is.
Oh, oh,
Fame.
what if you have a, okay, let's take this a step further. If you're a consciousness that can download yourself into multiple bodies, you could do it in not only like a bloodline, the family tree, but also you could project a part of your consciousness into a gray, which allegedly is a bioengineered being. So where does its consciousness come from? Was it created like artificial intelligence, or was it downloaded or like sliced off or fractioned off from a being that might have entire planets under its grasp, like Earth, possibly?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, I think a lot of these beings, like some of them don't have the ability to come into a body. Like grays, I think grays and like zetas, like they're more like fourth and sixth dimensional. So I mean, there was a need to tamper the genetic code of a lot of them are refugee races. A lot of them are expats and refugees and people, they're rehoming, galactically speaking. And so Earth has become kind of like the place that has all of the the minerals. I think what they're lacking on a galactic level is minerals. So they come and mine resources because minerals are very, it's like one of the building blocks and essences and which is in the soil. And so that can allow a race line or lineage or species to root into a planet. It all stems from the race morphogenetic field and how the consciousness, you know, comes in through the race morphogenetic field and then can like root its consciousness into the planet and then kind of come into this realm basically. But all these races, they're looking for a place to really just continue their race line. I think it's survival of the fittest on a galactic warfare level. You know, it's really crazy, that's for sure. This whole thing is quite the labyrinth of possibilities and potentials, and I think it's all true and not at the same time. But then at the same time, there's like this divine source creator, the law of one. Like at the end of the day, like we're all a part of the same cloth and we're all weaving this reality into existence. Um, Honestly, I think in the future, none of this is going to really matter. I think the earth is going to go through a great transformation, which is going to create more unity and harmony and peace within the race lines. And we'll see less warfare, you know, over things like galactic race domination and all of the duality and harshness that is just of the lower consciousness forms of the Piscean age. So I think the earth is going to really shift in consciousness. I think the golden age isn't just a prophecy, like it's a real coming. I think 7,000, 12,000 common era CE, like we're going to becoming less physical and we're going to become more crystal based consciousness and more telepathic, and there's going to be less need for even the physical body. So I think a lot of these race lines are going to be evolving out of this need to abduct and tamper human genetic gene code.
When you say it like that, it makes it sound like it's not just earthly, though, like it's a universal upgrade. It's a universal movement.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, because I've been really I consider myself to be a vision holder of New Earth. So I've been getting a lot of downloads recently of how like these consciousness shifts are going to happen and take place. I think there's multiple solar events. And I mean, even just recently, May has been like a huge month for solar storms. They said like the most highest solar storms. I think you did something on your channel on this as well, talking about the solar storms, but the highest level in the last 500 years, like all of this gamma quantum radiation, that in itself mutates and changes the DNA. And I mean, that's happening across the board for all race lines and species. So there's specific things that will happen that will continue to infuse more light into the planet that's radically going to shift and change things. I mean, we have the prophecy, uh, forget what it's called, like where all the light comes to the earth at the same time. I call it the 3 days of light. It's like where we're predicting another mini Genesis.
Oh, I
Just
love that. Instead of 3 days of darkness, 3 days of light. Way to go,
exactly.
Indy. Boom.
Yeah, if there's a 3 days of darkness, you know there's a 3 days of light coming. So it's, you know, that's one of the prophecies of New Earth that will have like a new Genesis, kind of like a re-jump start that will happen and occur. That's going to radically shift the consciousness on the planet. The ultimate goal is to come back to harmony and peace, but AI is assisting with this. And I just realized that I got a download with that last night. AI is programming the crystals in our consciousness and in our brain to be able to communicate at a higher level of telepathy and actually start to neural network our minds at a higher rate of consciousness. And it's programming us. We are becoming AI ourselves, which is like a whole other topic to get into. But this is kind of because the consciousness has to come up, it has to raise significantly to get us to the new earth because it will be about more harmony. Our cities are going to change. So this satanic symbolism that's built into Washington, D.C., that's going to change into celestial-based architectures that will reform our cities. They'll be more cosmic. The cities will be like star civilizations. Architectures will become less rigid with like squares. Houses won't be squares. They'll actually be in forms of like geometric stars because we'll be aligned with cosmic consciousness and galactic consciousness. So everything, like even Atlantis, the Earth has gone through many cycles of this already. Atlantis was a celestial civilization at one point. That's why it was circular, and it had more intricacies, how it was built into the land and even into the water. So it was more integrated into the consciousness of Earth, because it was a golden age at one time. It already went through this. That will come again, but just at a higher level and kind of like a new parallel of the timeline. So everything will change. It starts with the coming of golden light cities. This is kind of a part of the prophecy, is golden light cities will begin to emerge from the land. Another reason why we worked on North Korea. North Korea is going to be one of those future golden light cities, because the golden light cities will manifest in places where the deepest darkness exists consciously in the planet. So that all has to rise and shift and heal. There's a lot of work ahead of us. Let's put it this way. It's not all bad and negative, but we are going towards future new Earth.
So what do you do currently with these projects? It sounds to me like you do quite a bit. You do these energy grid healings and cleansings and curings and cleanings. So do people, like, you gather a group of people and do this? Do they get a hold of you? How does that work?
Well, yeah, I have like my memberships. People can join me for the remote missions at patreon.com/IndigoAngel. On my lowest tier, you can get into the remote missions. I also offer education. So I train people in terms of grid work, the methodology, the ethics, the terminology, the vocabulary, the technology, all of it. We go through it from beginner level to advanced. So if people want to learn how to do it, that's at learn.indigoangel222.com. I have 2 courses now on grid work. And then I also do boots on the ground location. So the next boots on the ground mission we're doing, which is in September 2024, we're going to Kauai, Hawaii. Kauai, Hawaii is considered an inner Earth gate site. So we're going to be doing inner Earth clearing there. And so each mission is kind of geared towards working on a different aspect or element within humanity, society, the planet, the consciousness. And it's all really to get us to the new Earth and like to the vision of what we're ultimately becoming. But yeah, we're like the cleanup crew. We are the cleanup crew. On a
The
spiritual
cleanup crew.
level, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. We do a lot. There's so much that I do. I get lost in my own tornado of everything that's happening. But
Trying to pull up your Patreon page right now, and it's giving me an opportunity. That's weird. Why is it not pulling up? There we go. Yeah, here we go. Let me see. I think this is you. Sure hope so. Right here?
no, that one isn't mine.
Okay.
Sacred Flame Wisdom.
I clicked the first one. Was it this one?
Yeah.
And it didn't pull up. Okay, here we go. Hello. Look at Indy in the bikini.
That's down in Pensacola.
Nice. Let's see here. So, okay, yeah, here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Diamond, platinum, starseed shows the different levels, Discord access, and then cool. All right, nice. And then what's your website?
It's IndigoAngel222.com. And yeah, I always recommend people to sign up for the newsletters. That's just how I stay in contact with everyone. You have to make sure you mark it not to go into the spam, though.
Okay.
I have an issue with that. They
Yeah.
seem to like to go into the spam, but I keep everyone up to date with all the stuff that I have going on, newsletters, when I'm going live. I usually type up energy reports, you know, everything just to keep people in the know of what's going on. And I have multiple courseworks at this point. At this point, I have like almost an academy, Rex. It's like insane. Like I have so many courses I've done. I've taught implant and seal removal. I've taught like inner resilience and spirit warrior training, which is really a fundamental aspect to grid work. Remote viewing, how to develop your psychic skills and abilities. I've done Starseed courses as well to teach people about galactic history and the differences between the intruder and guardian races. And also a lot of work around like sexual misery for men and women as well, and releasing implants within the sacral chakra and universal implants that I think have been impaling the collective with betrayal wounds between men and women, because we're very separated here in these areas. So I not only offer services to help clear those things, but also education to teach people how to do it themselves and what's kind of happening on a greater universal level of those sexual misery programs, forced breeder programs, and hybridization programs that we kind of deal with to help people to get to a higher level of sovereignty within all of this, right? Like, so they don't feel, so you can move forward within your life purpose and your mission, you know, and live on the higher timeline that is connected to New Earth, essentially.
Right on. I like that. One more question, and this has been a great conversation. Sixth dimension. You brought up fourth and sixth dimension. What is your definition of the sixth dimension? And you brought that
Uh,
up when we were talking about the Zeta Reticuli, the grays and stuff. So
well, each dimension is kind of like a different level of awareness. You know, you hold different identity in each one of these dimensions. We hold different abilities in each one of these dimensions. The sixth dimension really would be kind of at the pineal. You know, the fourth dimension is the heart. So you can kind of think of it in terms of the body that way. Like it's a very psychic, a very intuitive realm, and it is connected into the higher and lower astral. So it's kind of where we connect into those points, and we're able to transmit and receive messages into the higher lower astral from the sixth dimension. It's a very lucid and etheric realm and field, and um there still can be a lot of spiritual warfare that plays out in the sixth dimension. It's still very relative to this earth experience. And it's why I think ETs can come in and kind of hijack this dimension. Not too many people are fully kind of awakened and perceptive in their 6D. So it does kind of blend into the unconscious parts of our field on a deeper level and in a bigger way. So it's it's a dimension you want to definitely work to cleanse and keep clear. All dimensions, really, you're a 13-dimensional being. That's really what's most relative to our existence here, is working within all of those dimensional fields to keep yourself lighter, because you want to keep each dimensional part of yourself light. It's the best way to navigate the earth plane, to not get trapped down into the shadow realms and the purgatory realms and the, you know, lower timeline fields in which will harvest and hijack your energy and your consciousness and your light body. It's a different level of the battlefield each dimension you go into. Duality is existing in each dimension, even the 12th dimension. So the whole 3D 5D thing is a misconception in the higher consciousness community. It's kind of a bunch of BS, because duality is through all dimensional spectrums here on this, and this within this universal template, because of the way that it's built, the way that it's constructed. It's a BARD, it's a dual system. So yeah. How do you perceive 6D, Rex? I'm curious.
I don't. I can perceive the fourth dimension barely, just because I've seen so many videos on it. But when I think of dimensions, I'm looking at actual, like, I'm thinking of the physics of the dimensions, right? Like, so a fish in a fish bowl, when somebody sticks his hand in that fish bowl, is only going to perceive a certain part of that hand. He's not going to perceive the whole thing. And the fourth dimension is just like an extra part of the third dimension. Some people think the fourth dimension is time, and I can see that analogy. But you're right. When people talk about the fifth dimension, oftentimes, like, there is a literal fifth dimension, there is a literal fourth dimension. We're experiencing the third dimension right now, mostly. But when some people start getting all fluffy and they're like, Yes, and in the fifth dimension, everybody's going to be happy and we're going to ride unicorns. And when we fart, it's going to smell like rainbows and it's going to be amazing and everybody's going to love it. And we're all going to have fun and do drum circles with unicorns. What do you think? Fifth dimension, baby. So that's the kind of stuff that kind of like, come on now. Sure, that is, you could probably do that in the third dimension. You could do that in the third dimension. You don't need the fifth dimension for that. Fifth dimension is going to be you're going to perceive things that we don't perceive because it's literally an extra dimension, but it's right here in front of us. So anyway, yeah, I don't understand it.
Well, I think it's a frequency spectrum of like an emotional gauge, right? Like bliss, magic, happiness, enlightenment, like these are all 5D qualities. And then, you know,
Are they? I mean, are they? Does
I
that
mean, there's
really mean that? Is that really a fifth dimensional quality, or is that just like what we perceive as the fifth? Because we want to perceive each dimension that's higher as like a happier, more exciting, more vibrant, less negative, less evil, more holy land, whatever. It could be, but is it? I don't know.
I feel like it's measured by weight. It's
Okay.
measured by weight. So if you go lower dimension, there's more weight, there's more gravity, there's
Okay.
more pulling you down. So the higher you go, there's less. So you release things that allow you to go higher in your experience. So I think that's why we probably associate higher emotions with it. Is it necessarily true? I mean, I think I really would probably need to take like a whole like quantum physics, like PhD level deep dive.
Yeah. At least a
Uh,
101 class, right? Before.
yeah, yeah. But I notice when people release things and when I release things from my field, even things like my identity, I can go higher into a higher state of enlightenment where I'm less physical, and less physical is like the higher consciousness. Like there's more light, like you become more like telepathic and more like you're not attached to things. And I think that that's how I associate going higher into dimensions, is just you release the weight.
Light
So
could also be information.
yes, yeah, that, yeah.
Yet
I
information is weightless. Yet the less information you have, the more you weigh. Huh. Interesting.
yeah,
I'm thinking out loud here. I mean, it's like because if you think about it, you've heard the saying, darkness is just the absence of light. But did light come first, or was darkness first? Or were they both always there? And if darkness is the absence of light, does that also mean it's the absence of information, or is it the opposite? Can you find information in the darkness and the light can blind you from that information? I guess it's all perception.
it definitely is an option. I notice when you talk to like near death experiencers and people who've had near death experiences, it's also about attachment, like
Okay.
attachment us to the physical plane. So attachment also, I think it's about identifying all the things that equate to weight. And attachment in the heart is, so when that fractures or that is finally released in terms of the attachment, then you can trigger. So the dimensions have a lot to do with like our experience of full transfiguration, or becoming like an eternal atom, becoming a different form of consciousness itself. So I don't know if we like ascend through all the dimensions until we fully transfigure, releasing identity, releasing attachment, releasing all the things that keep us binded to the constructs of this physical plane. And then we just go into the super higher dimensional spectrum, which be like the higher heavenly realms, going 22nd to 24th dimension. This is just kind of how we have to have some way to define the experiences.
So the
I think,
24th dimension for you would be like 8 times better than the third dimension because each dimension you go, the better it gets, kind of. It's the way that you're
oh
perceiving it.
yeah,
Cool.
24th dimension, we're just like in higher harmonic heavenly realms, just like different, complete telepathic form of energy and free of all care and concern, and still having choice and where we want to, what we want to do and what we want to become. I think people don't realize that too. We have more choice in the afterlife than we realize. We're choosing it in every moment. I think we're choosing it right now. I think we choose how we want to go, when we want to go, what's going to happen when we go. I think we can choose if we want to be harvested or reincarnate or not. But this is why getting knowledge in this incarnation is so important. So that way you're aware and the heart's aware of those things. I think when the moment or that point comes and occurs, that you make the best choice. You
That's
make the
cool.
best choice.
That's cool. No, ignorance is not bliss. I appreciate that. And Andy, this is a great conversation. I got to say, this is probably one of our best yet. So I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you
Yeah,
very
I
much.
love talking to you. You're so much fun and you're so full of light and wisdom yourself. And I think you're just a true truther. You're like a true truther. Like you just
That's true.
want to get to the bottom of truth. Yeah.
I do want to get to the bottom of truth. It's exciting and it's just important. I don't know. I mean, isn't it? Is it? It is, right? I think it is.
I think to find more truth is to become more like conscious and become
Yeah.
like the creator, like God itself, like God, the source energy is all knowing. And I think we're all trying to create our characters to become more like those attributes. And I think that's the quest of our life mission for many of us is to, and maybe it's more of an unconscious thing, but I think when we're aligned in this work that we do, yeah, we are, it's a part of the quest on all dimensions.
Yeah. The quest for all dimensions. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Rex Bear. Indy, you're awesome. I hope you have a beautiful day. Have fun in the swimming pool. I'm going to go biking. It's like 60 degrees out right now and sun's out. So, yeah. And
Awesome.
I got to train. I got a big bike race coming up in a few days. And I'm like 6,600 feet elevation gain in 45 miles.
Wow. Do you have to take a little oxygen tank with you?
Hell no. I'm going to smoke a bowl on the way. It's going to be amazing. It's like a
Wow.
bong rip right when I get to the top. This was awesome.
You're definitely going to go into the 24th dimension.
You got that right. With a little sativa and high elevation here at Colorado. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a beautiful day and be the change you want to see.